Good evening, legends. Round 12 team list. The week before, all the fun starts, that's for sure. And it's just the Knights on the bye this week with everyone else being named. And yeah, it's really just about rounding out your team heading into the bye period. Do you want that extra gun in your side that maybe doesn't play round 13? Are you looking to fill up your squad, with a couple of round 13 trade-ins this week, guys to play in that week, or potentially both 13 and 14? It's probably the real question, and then cleaning up a little bit of the, a few of the injuries and the like that you may have in Munster. And we just heard Connor Watson's out as well for 3 to 4 weeks, which is pretty tough with a throat injury. So he likely has to be a trade out as well, given it'll be round 12, 13, which is an important one. Round 14 also another important one. And may even miss 15, when you have a few dogs out as well. So that's a frustrating one. I own him in Supercoach, not fantasy, but still a tough one for either owners there. Let's move to the Doggies and the Dragons to kick things off on Thursday night. Hopefully a bit of a bounce back from the Doggies. And it probably didn't matter too much with some of my players anyway, with Karaz still scoring pretty well. And then, for those that own Max King, he's a very, very big target this week. He's still been named. They do have a 4-forward bench, one of them being Jacob Preston, with Jamin Salmon returning. So anyone who held on to him specifically for next week, or potentially even for this week, he has been named to start even, and Preston's still being named off the bench. So we have to stay away from Preston at the moment. It looks like he'll be nowhere near 80 minutes going forward, which is a little bit frustrating for anyone looking at him for that one, with Sam Hughes still starting at this point, which is great. But King's going to be that option. Anyone in the outside backs, it's really just Karaz you want to look at. But again, anyone we mention here in this video, we'll do a deep dive in the buy, hold, risk, sell. But this is a good one, so you can play around with your potential trades. But Salmon, you could potentially hold if you still do. Curran, same situation. Hopefully he plays some good minutes there. But nothing else changes for the Dogs there. For the Dragons, they had the bye last week. And on return, nothing really changes apart from Luciano Leilua in the 17 jersey. At the moment, it doesn't look to have a start. I wonder if on game day, Eisenhuth will go to 13. De Belin might end up back on the bench. And then Luciano goes back into the starting side on the edge. That's potential. Jack de Belin, someone, if you were looking maybe a little bit higher than where Max King is priced at, Jack de Belin's one that's now got through his bye. He plays 13, 14, and 19. So someone to potentially look at there, missing 16. The Dragons do. So keep an eye on Jack de Belin if you're interested in him. And then they've got, Laurie on the bench there with RFM as well. So still a really strong reserves list, with Ben Maddock-Masila coming into the reserves there after playing in their last game. Harm Saleh is another cheaper option in the mids as well if you're looking at him. And then Jacob Little in the 9 jersey. But I would still spend up a little bit and go for Reid Marnie or something like that there, who's the other option on that dog side there. For the outside backs, Lomax still potentially an option. Could be a chance of playing Origin now, especially now that Bradman Best is out as well. So I'd probably steer clear until next week to make that decision. But Harm Saleh, the only other option there, I think, outside of Eisenhuth and Jack de Belin. Moving on to the next one, Cowboys and the Tigers, 6 p.m. on Friday. For the Cowboys there, we do see Braden Burns maintaining that spot. It sounds like Kyle Felt likely to be sort of he's a chance of this week, I'm pretty sure, on the reserves. So at best, one more week, and then could slot straight back into that team. We'll have to wait and see, though. Outside of that, Helam Luki has got the start again. You could pick him up as a cheaper edge if you wanted to, but also has that injury history to contend with. And maybe, just maybe, you do wait one more week. Make sure that Jeremiah Nanai ends up in Origin, and then you can select him as a cheaper edge if you need one in your side. Finafiriaki, again, I think you can hold on. He scored enough points to not lose too much. If Nanai is going to be into Origin, I think you can play him next week, so keep that in mind. Vailea had a much better week. One of the best, the best I've seen him in the Cowboys jersey, but some of the best play I've seen from him in general. So he's someone that you could look at, but I do think Chester is returning soon. He's not on that extended reserves yet, but it does sound like the first week that he could be available was next week, based on the time frame of 6 weeks that they were giving him as a potential return date. So that's all we need to say, I think, on the Cows. Cotter, hopefully a better game from him this week. I expect it to be, and then likely a sell, especially now that he's got that low 31 or 32 in his average. Robertson, again, hold till next week and make that decision on your number 9. For the Tigers, Galvin we've still got him as a great, guy to have in your team. Don't look to sell him at the moment. They've got Declan Casey and Josh Felaherty coming in with both of their starting centres last week getting suspended. So yeah, don't jump into those two. Alamalo looking actually okay, scoring okay as well. Probably not someone to dive into either. Sullivan, you got 2 more weeks with him at starting 7, where you should expect good scores, and then it should change from there with Caesar coming back. Finer has been named, Samuela that is, back in the starting jersey, so that's good news. The big news here is that, Appy's in, which is good. Isaiah Papali'i moves back to the edge, which was probably expected, to be honest. The reason he was at 13 was because they were putting Bateman back to the edge there. And yeah, that's just how they thought that they'd be able to play better. But with Bateman going down and another edge being down, they were sort of mucking around with that position last week, which you saw with Asukupoa and also Alex Safar spending some time there. And I think they need to shore up that edge, and Isaiah goes back to his preferred position there. With Justin Matamua is coming in to start, so I'm not sure if he will actually start or it will be Alex Twal or Seyfarth even, or Fanua Bole, but at the moment, Justin Matamua is coming straight into that position in number 13. It remains to be seen if he actually starts there, and I think you definitely need to watch before looking to buy him. Some people grabbed Alex Twal last week. I still think he plays big minutes in this situation they've got there in the interchange with Simkin there, who will cover just a few minutes. Whether it's for Appy or not, I doubt it, but he'll come on and play a little bit at 9, and Appy will go to 13 or something like that. And Papali'i and Fainu will play those big minutes there on the edge. So there you go. That's the situation with the Tigers right now. Asukupoa leaves this team as well after playing good minutes last week. For the next game, we've got Eagles up against the Storm. And for the Eagles, not a lot changes for them. They've got Burbo, Gerbo in their start again, as they did last week. Matt Lodge is the only out there, and you do see Gordon Chankam-Tong back onto that side as well with Bully Moore, Nathan Brown, and Corey Waddell. So a pretty strong bench they got going on there. In terms of guys you may look to own on your side, obviously Ruben Garrick, Tolu Kola are probably the only two that I'll be searching for, with Hamole Olakauatu, not Hamlin-Uele, as my mate was saying all weekend. He kept calling Hamole Hamlin-Uele. I'm like, that's two different people, brother. I had to say it like 4 times. I was like, I think that's enough. I think shouldn't have to say it anymore. And now he's gotten me saying it. Olakauatu, likely to be in Origin. So, yeah, do with that information what you will. I don't think you can buy him off that information, but there you go. Whaelongo had a good week last week there. Much better score. I don't think you can purchase with Pappy, likely to be back in a 14 or 15 round. So, there's that. Warbrick, a much better game. Smith, Meany still 6 in centres, with Tyron Wishart going to 6. Jerome Hughes back at 7. If he was to be out, I'm not exactly sure what they do in this scenario, but what they have gone and done is actually changed Josh King back to the starting jersey with Trent Liero back at 14. I'm not sure if that happened last week or not, but that's where it's at for now. And Grant Anderson is still the utility on the bench. He did a really good job last week. Welch is starting with Kamikamitha, which Tui did end up in the 13 jersey last week. So, yeah, actually, no, Trent wasn't there in that one. But he's in the 14 now, which I think he was at the end of last week, actually, come final team. So, for the Storm, holding on to Grant, you're not buying Blore. You can buy Eli Katoa. I think he's a really good edge purchase this week. Tyron Wishart, very likely to keep this spot in this side. So, if you wanted him in the position that he's in, that could work for you. I don't think that he'll lose that spot. I think he's played really, really well. So expect him to have that spot for the next couple of months until you've got Munster coming back, but then there's Origin and everything else that he has to contend with upon return in maybe that sort of round 19 kind of number there. But that's kind of wishful thinking, you'd imagine, at this stage there. All right, moving along. We've got the Raiders up against the Roosters there, and yeah, still no Chevy Stewart. Rapana played really well last week, and he ended up getting that start. He isn't even being named on the reserve, so Chevy's nowhere near this side right now. In terms of the rest of their side there, K.O. Weeks, you need to buy him this week if you didn't last week. Ethan Strange, a terrific hold, scoring really well. Obviously, against the Roosters, it'll be a harder game this week than that against the Dogs, so a few people asking about Jordy Rapana. You could look at him, but obviously he's coming off an injury, and that could, flare up again, and it's up against a tough team. Like, he can score well against anyone, but I'd rather him play against a lesser side than the Roosters, who are high-flying right now, coming off a loss. In terms of their forwards, Joe Tapine could definitely be looked at for sure if you're not worried about round 14. He's the other great mid-purchase, but if he can Whereas like Max King, you got to deal with that in 15 instead of 14. So whichever one suits your team better. I think Joey Tarpany has lost enough cash now to be worth it. They're under 700k for sure. No one on their bench I'll be looking at. And then the Roosters, so Connor Watson's out, yeah, as I spoke about at the start. So do with that information what you need to do. Teddy, I don't know if you can buy him now, a week out from Origin. If you buy him this week and then he makes Origin, he misses 13, 14, 16, 19. Super frustrating. So I'd probably leave that there. Joey Manu returns, which is good for good for holders. Anyone who doesn't own him yet could definitely look at him as a purchase this week against the Raiders. I think that could be a really fun one to go for this week. Obviously playing round 13, missing 14 though. If Teddy is named in Origin, Manu will be at fullback, and most people will want him in their side. So he's someone that I'm heavily looking at, and I'll work out what I'm going to do with that position. Whether I'm going to wait and see if an injury pops up for one of my centers or wing fullbacks next week, which is obviously every chance. And if that's the case, then I'll definitely use him as a trade in. But we'll work out how we want to play that one going forward. But I've got round 14 guys on bye. So again, if they get injured, then we can trade them out, and Manu could be a good replacement there. So that's something to think about. Sam Walker, going okay. I'm not sure if he's a buy anymore. I'd rather go for Dylan Brown up a bit higher. You got Hargraves and Collins starting, Crichton and Radley on the edges there. So Radley moves to there. Nat Butcher's dropped, which is pretty interesting. I know he wasn't super happy with how Nat's been playing, and obviously, not happy again on the weekend. So Radley goes to the edge, and Nafahu White on return plays 13. I expect him to play somewhere around that 40-odd minute mark again, like he has in recent history, 30 to 40 minutes, and should be able to score well. Sandon Smith on the interchange bench. He will cover sort of that 25 minutes or so for Brandon Smith, so expect a 55-minute bump there with Brandon, 20-minute bump on last week anyway. Hopefully he can actually do well. For anyone who's still holding on to Brandon, Watson being out is good news for him. Feel really sorry for Connor. He's just worked his way back into a terrific role, and he's playing so well, and then cops a throat injury of all things, so frustrating there. Sandon Smith, as I said, Egan Butcher, Spencer Leniu, and Terrell May. If you're holding on to Terrell, I think obviously Watson being out helps him a little bit, and Nafahu White being the 13 rather than them playing Nat Butcher as well, it just helps out these middles there with Radley not taking that massive minute role, and they're going to have to split some time in this 13 role. Brandon Smith, not a huge minute guy. It's very, very helpful for Terrell, and I wish I was holding on to him at this point. So there you go. Sharks up against the Panthers. The Sharkies stay very much the same there. You've still got Braden Trindle in 22, so I think they're just going to sit him there as cover if anything happens to their halves at this stage. And they keep the exact same side from last week. In terms of potential purchases, you can still go for Nikora even after his low score for sure. In terms of anyone in the back line, Jesse Raymond's a chance playing Origin as well. So even he's someone hard to look at. I wouldn't be buying Atkinson right now. I would try and go for obviously the more expensive Joey Manus and these types of guys. Nico Hines, again, wait till Origin. Hopefully he gets picked. He deserves it. And then you've got Hazelton and Kafusi, both are pretty high. Hard to look at them. Wilton at edge there. Not scoring amazingly. McInnes, I'd be waiting to see what happens with him in Origin after this weekend. And remember, guys, Origin we picked most likely Monday morning, sometimes it's Sunday night, but usually they do a press conference at like 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. on Monday morning, and we hear them release that, which is always fun. But the bench stays the same. I wouldn't be buying anyone from the bench. For the Panthers, Dylan Edwards is in there at the start, which he continues to kill it. Paul Alamotti still starting there in the 4 jersey. In the centers with Taylor May out, and I don't expect Talon coming back anytime soon. Luke Garner's also out with Scott Sorensen starting, so he's also someone you can have a look at there. With Garner out, no reason as to why he would be out, apart from him just being the man to miss out, it says there. So Sorensen back into the starting side, which Garner's had a good little stint there, and Sorensen is their guy, so hopefully he's fit and firing. You could definitely look at him, and we will discuss him in the buy, hold, risk, sell. Paul Alamotti is very expensive now and didn't have a very high scoring game on the weekend, so I'd hold, but I wouldn't be purchasing. Isaac Tungo is the cheap center that has high upside there. This is a tough matchup against the Sharks, but he's definitely someone that could do well. Jerome Luai, if you don't expect him to be in Origin, could be a solid purchase now. After it looked like last week he was back to some of his good point scoring footy. I wouldn't be buying Fisher Harris at this point. Just the minutes went back to normal, and yeah, we don't really want him at 40-odd minutes with a 3 forward bench there. And then, yeah, Skorenson's probably the main one you want to look at in that game. Rabbitohs up against the Eels for their buddies. They make the change. Jack Whiten goes to 6, so I definitely expect an increase in points from him. He's very, very cheap now, and if you have some type of interest for him at centre, if you don't need someone for round 13, he could be a solid purchase this week. But I'm not sure if that's going to keep up with Dion coming out of this side there. I'm not exactly sure if that will continue going forward. David Moale still named to start after that apparent shoulder injury, so it's a strange one. If you do own him, hold on for that reason. We do see Keon Koloamatangi move to 13. You've got Host and Arrow on the edge this week. So, yeah, with Host returning, they're happy to throw Keon in there and remove Havili going back to the bench. Duncan staying on the bench as well. So, yeah, Damien Cook, I think, is a really good purchase in the hooking position. If you don't need someone for 13 and he pairs up well with someone else in your side, then that's good. But Tane Milne and also Michael Cheekham move into the centres there. Latrell Mitchell, a very, very good purchase if you don't think he's going to be playing Origin. Similar to that with Koloamatangi, has a little bit less upside than that of Latrell, but is going to be a solid scorer in that position. For the Eels there, I don't think you can buy Blaze Talangi now. It was probably last week or the week before only, but he's looking really, really good. Penasini, very, very cheap. With Moses still not there, I think you'll wait on him. With Dylan Brown, I still think he's a really good buy this week, and especially against the Rabbitohs, he could go nuts. He's been great the last month or so, and I wish I purchased him. Anywho, onto the forwards. Lussick still keeps an 80-minute role, most likely, which is good, needed in my side this week. Jermaine Hopgood likely plays Origin in my opinion, but is still a really good buy. If you want points, that's what he's going to give you. Similar to that with Isaiah Yeo, that's the situation that they're in, although they miss round 20, and the Panthers don't. Sean Lane got less minutes last week with 60. Just keep hold of him. Still annoying, but keep hold at this point. Ryan Madison back from illness, still going back into the starting side. I wonder if Cartwright will go into the start and Madison back to the bench there. But if you own Maddo, hold steady and hope that he can come out and score well. Reece Walsh returns in the fullback slot. Hopefully you did hold on, but if you didn't, I understand. But yeah, Reece Walsh is back, which is good. Karapani keeps in that centre spot, with Stags being rested this week, which is very interesting. And yeah, rested this week, from what I've heard. Mismatch. I did get a fractured rib. Okay, someone said he's rested, but yeah, rested with the rib. Fair enough. Billy Walters is back on deck as well, which is helpful for them. He goes straight back into the starting side. Pikura, we're hoping and praying for you this week, mates. But it looks like he'll still lose some minutes. I'm not sure how many he'll lose, but he'll likely lose some minutes. Hopefully they're just getting him back into form, and thankfully for him, he's up against Beaufort Moore, not being up against Fafita, who Jordan Ricky has to cop that assignment. Keep holding on to Carrigan, see what happens to him heading into next week. Same with Payne Haas. And I wouldn't be buying anyone else, waiting to see what Selwyn Cobbo does with Origin as well. It's very much a waiting week, unless there's guys that you're certain aren't going to play Origin, like the Dylan Browns, the Tarpanis, the Kiwis, basically. For the Titans on the other side, I was looking at Cleese Haas a little bit, thinking he might benefit from Jolliffe's injury, and last week he got decent minutes, 40-odd, but got a try and only got 30-odd points, and he's had a bunch of 30s games, so I don't have the faith in Cleese Haas. In terms of the other guys that benefit, Keenan Palacia has returned. I just don't see anyone really benefiting here. Mo Fotuaika likely to benefit, and you got Pahulu in the starting side, so congratulations to him. He'll get some more minutes, but I don't think it's an option. He hasn't scored super well, even in the minutes that he's been provided, like PPM wise. So there's that. Tony Francis gets his chance on the wing as well. So congrats to him this week in place of Aaron Schopp, who was in centres. And Jolliffe's obviously out for a couple of months now, so we'll have to trade him out. Kieran Fawn in the 19 jersey, he could potentially come back. So it's that. Both for more solid purchase for Feeder. Hard to buy him before Origin. And Kenny, solid. But we'll have Campbell back eventually. Not anywhere to be seen as of yet. Fletcher Baker was on the reserves list as well for the Broncos. And then to the last game of the round, guys, thanks so much for being here and checking out which guys are potential options for you this week in sells. The Warriors up against the Dolphins to finish off the weekend, round 12. Tane Tuilpiki keeps his spot along with everyone else in this back line. If you've got Chance, keep holding on. If you've got Tamari Martin, awesome. That's going to be good for a little bit. Freddie Lusty comes in and starts for Wade Eakin with his head knock. He'll be hopefully back next week. Mitch Barnett keeps his spot on the edge. Bunty in the start. Dylan Walker at 13 with no Tohu Harris. So that's a little bit frustrating. They're going to give him another week's rest. So hopefully back in round 14. If you still own Tohu Harris, like my head-to-head team does, at this point it's likely a hold just with the amount of trades we have left. He'll be back, and hopefully that is a bit of a rest on his legs, and he can come back and dominate, which I think they need him to do. So it might not be the worst thing to get him a little bit of rest, and we'll see what happens. He'll be able to keep up his fitness, which is cool, but he doesn't have to have the vigors and the rigors of first grade footy with people tackling him on a regular basis. But that's that. Rodney Kure back on the interchange bench, which helps him out a little bit as well with Jacob Laban, Tavanga, and Tom Ale, with Ale Leataua and Wade Egan out. So Rocco Berry comes back straight back in the side. So there you go. I thought it was a 2-week thing. 1 week it is. Oh, is he concussion as well? There you go. Dolphins, you got Hammer still in the start. Trey Fuller not there, so he's in the reserves. That's cool. Well, I didn't want him on the bench, basically. Happy to, for them to have him on ice until next week, which would be good. Farnworth Averillo, Farnworth a little bit lower this week. An average buy. Asako is actually going to get pretty cheap over the next few weeks with his low scores. Now that he built it up, he's going to drop back down now a little bit, especially after this week. And maybe you could look at buying him next week if you would like a wing fullback that is pretty volatile, that's for sure. All the other guys are holds. We do see Aiken keep his spot with Max Plath returning. Lemuelu on the interchange currently, but he may move into the starting side with Felice going to prop, with Nichols going back to 14 like he did last week. So that's the potential. Marshall King did fairly well last week with a couple of try assists, but good to see Max Plath back in the 13 role. And I'm expecting 50 odd minutes unless he's going to move and spend some time on the edge, which I doubt is going to happen. I just hope that he has about 55 minutes in the middle, and I'll take a 45 out of Maxi Plath on return, which is good there. So yeah, that's all I'd be looking at. Lemuelu, this is annoying that he's going to bench and then go and start. If he does that on a weekly basis, that's going to be frustrating because you're like, oh damn, he's benched, I won't buy, and then he starts and plays big minutes. So there you go. That's all the team list heading into round 12, guys. I wish you all the best of luck with those early trades, and we'll get into the big buy, hold, risk it, and sells tomorrow.